Hello and welcome to the second video in the Tank Platoon Tactics series. We're back at Camp Hornfelt to learn how to conduct an attack by fire. An attack by fire is a tactical task to destroy the enemy from a distance using direct fires. This task is normally used when the mission does not require or support the occupation of an objective. As always, you can pause the video momentarily to review the mission briefing. In this mission, we will conduct a rapid tactical road march along Route Junebug to establish at Battle Position 1. Along with 2nd Platoon, we will initiate an attack by fire onto the enemy located in Engagement Area Dog Girl. An engagement area is a location where a platoon leader or a commander intends to destroy an enemy force using the massed fires of all available weapons. Based on intelligence reports, the enemy is comprised of approximately 10 T-80 tanks, as well as 3 BMP-2s. The size of this force dictates a company-level effort. Upon reaching Battle Position 1, our platoon will establish in a hide site. The commander's intent here is to gain tactical surprise over the enemy and ambush them in Engagement Area Dog Girl. If you watched the last video, I made a comment on how I didn't know when or where the enemy would attack. In that case, the enemy had achieved tactical surprise. Now, prior to issuing any orders, I want to briefly cover the 7 steps of developing an engagement area. Of note, many of these have already been completed by the company commander in this instance. The first is to identify likely enemy avenues of approach. In this case, we have determined that the enemy will need to use a high-speed avenue of approach from the southeast to the northwest. Second is to determine the enemy's scheme of maneuver. The intent here with gaining tactical surprise over the enemy is to allow the enemy to believe that contact with our forces is unlikely, and therefore have his forces deployed in a marching order. The third step is to determine where to kill the enemy. This has already been identified by the selection of Engagement Area Dog Girl. Based on the terrain, the enemy will move through natural points of canalization to the south and will be forced to use the high-speed avenues of approach within the AO. To the north, our forces can take advantage of both the height and cover and concealment offered by the hills. In layman's terms, Engagement Area Dog Girl is an excellent spot for an ambush. The next 3 steps of engagement area development can be conducted in any order, but I like to perform them in the following manner. Step 4 is to plan and integrate obstacles. In this case, we have none available. If we did have some available, however, we could use them to disrupt the enemy's maneuver, causing him to piecemeal his forces, potentially block the enemy's movement through certain terrain, or turn the enemy into our engagement area. Step 5 is to plan and integrate indirect fires. The company commander has already planned to call in a DPICM mission vicinity of target number Alpha 0012 in order to block the enemy's retreat. I want to enhance the effects of fires with 2 missions of my own. The first is going to be an on-order DPICM mission at a target that I will designate Alpha Bravo 0005. I will place that within the center of the engagement area. And the purpose of this target is going to be to disrupt the enemy's maneuver within the engagement area. The second will be an on-order HE and smoke mix at target number Alpha 0012, which is both to destroy any dismounted infantry that the enemy might employ, and to prevent any follow-on elements of the enemy from establishing a hasty support by fire position oriented on either attack by fire positions 1 or 2. Step 6 is to emplace weapon systems. I want to ensure that my tanks are in a position to directly observe and engage enemies in the vicinity of target Alpha Bravo 0005 when we're given the order to march forward and occupy our attack by fire positions. Finally, step 7 is going to be to rehearse the execution of operations in the engagement area. If time permits, it's extremely beneficial to have a friendly vehicle drive through the engagement area and view the plan from the enemy's perspective. This enables friendly forces to determine where they can see the enemy and where the enemy can see them. In addition, you can also use this to identify dead space within the engagement area that was not previously identified and is not covered by indirect or direct fires. If time is not available, as in this case, you should instead talk through the entire planned engagement from start to finish, to include incorporating indirect fires and any triggers that will result in fire or maneuver. By working through these 7 steps, you can easily increase the lethality of your force in a defensive position. Anyway, let's get started with the mission. To start off with, since we've identified that the enemy threat up to battle position 1 is unlikely, I'm going to order a tactical road march to be conducted. As before, I'll select march, and by pressing shift we can tie our movement to the road. And at that point, I can go ahead and put our endpoint in the position of battle position 1, give us a stay command so that my platoon does not move forward in an attempt to gain observation and therefore reveal our position. Looking at the route itself, I'll set it to top speed, ensure that we're in a column formation, and I'm going to go ahead and set spacing to normal. As before, I can orient my platoon in a position to better execute the route by switching to a static tactic before going back to none, and ensuring that we're in a column formation and we're at normal spacing. Now, upon reaching battle position number 1, we're going to assume a hide position until the enemy has been observed moving into engagement area Dog Girl. Now, looking at the map here, it doesn't look like there's a particular lot of terrain that we can maneuver on, and what you can potentially do is go to contour line spacing and change this. For example, moving to 20 meters for contour line, you can see that the terrain here looks significantly more flat than it actually is. However, you can go through and change the contour line spacing to give you a more in-depth view of what the terrain looks like at the map level. So 1 meter, for example, kind of over-exaggerates everything. I find in this case 5 meters is sufficient. In this case, looking at the map back here, you can see that we're in a relatively flat area with some vegetation. There appears to be a slight hill in front of us before it goes down into more of a flat area. We can quickly check this by going into the view in the 3D environment. I'm going to set the height for about 3.2 meters. About 3 meters is what you're looking at for an M1A2 SEP. And we can actually go to the exact position where we plan on positioning our forces here and see what both we can see, as well as by heading out into the engagement area and directly turning about, see what the enemy can see. So as you can see there, we can use the hill terrain to hide behind that, and bottom line, the enemy will not be able to observe that we're in position until we either move forward or they move completely past the engagement area, which is not being planned. Now that we have a hide site, I want to go ahead and set another waypoint where we can move forward and engage the enemy within the engagement area on order. So in this case, I can go ahead, put a waypoint there, give it a defensive tactic, and I can orient our sector of fire, or center area of fire, on Alpha Bravo 0005. Of note, in the planning phase, you can actually see how far away your center of your sectors of fire is located. In this case, about 1,100 meters. You can't do this in the actual execution portion, so this is an advantage of doing this ahead of time in the planning process. In this case, I'll make sure we're set in a line at close formation, and additionally for the fire control, I'll go ahead and set it so that we are holding fire until the enemy is at 2,500 meters max range. This will decrease the amount of ammunition that we're expending and increase our first round kill probability. Now once we've moved into the hide position, I'll go ahead and select engage, click on the vicinity of waypoint 14, and then go ahead and execute that. So in this case, once we get to waypoint 13, our hide site, once we're told to move forward, all I have to do is press the C key on the keyboard, and my forces will begin bounding forward. I can edit this further by setting us in a line, ensuring that we're at normal spacing. At this point, we're good to go ahead and begin the mission. So as you can see, the platoon is beginning its movement automatically. So I'll go ahead and do the pre-planned targets as I previously mentioned. First is Alpha Bravo 0005. I want to do 400 by 400 for length and width, and set this to ICM at my command. The second is going to be at target Alpha 00012, Alpha 0012, which is an HE smoke mix, put at my command 400 by 400. At that point, we're basically set as far as fire missions. So I'll go ahead and speed up the game itself, time compression, and I'll wait until we get into our hide site. Alright, so at this point we have moved into our hide site, and we're basically standing by for the rest of the company to move into their positions and for the enemy to be identified in engagement area Dog Girl. At this point, both of our on-order targets are ready to be called, and once we call those, it'll be about 30 to 40 seconds before they impact. Now, in an engagement that can seem like an eternity, but what this will do is we can maximize both our direct fires as well as our indirect fires in engagement area Dog Girl and quickly attrit the enemy company. At this point, I will go ahead and resume time compression until we're given the order to move forward. Alright, at this point, the enemy has been spotted in engagement area Dog Girl. We've been given the order to move forward, and I'm going ahead and initiating both fire missions. And we already have enemy tanks located to the right, so we'll go ahead and focus on them and begin the engagement process. Alright. And as you can tell, these enemies are extremely close, which is good. Should increase our lethality substantially. And there comes our DPICM on cue. And this will force the enemy to either maneuver to another position or to stay put and be destroyed. Go ahead and see what's going on from a different viewpoint. So right now it looks like we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10. It's kind of difficult to tell with all the tanks out there being in the same position. Enemy vehicles destroyed, all of them looking like T-80s. It says that there are a bit more further away, but I cannot identify from my current position, and I'm not going to drive through the engagement area at this point. And let's see. Try to orient on that one remaining tank. But again, as you can tell by gaining tactical surprise over the enemy, we're able to make very short work of them. That's 7, 8, 9. 9 confirmed enemy kills at the loss of, looks like 2 tanks at the company level. There we go. There's the final one, and he has already been destroyed, actually, so not bad at all. And at this point, we'll continue observing the engagement area, see if the enemy BMP-2s maneuver through after being hit with indirect fires. And if they do, we'll destroy them. If not, then that is basically the completion of this operation. And we're going to go at this station, spotted an enemy PC, shot at it, and that is the mission itself. So as you can tell, killed 10 enemy vehicles, 2 blue losses, neither of them from our platoon. And looking at the AAR process itself, again, nothing too spectacular for the blue side, but we can look at where red's coming from. So, as previously mentioned, they're moving down the road in marching order, it looks like. Yep, marching order tied to the roads, largely canalized through this terrain until they reach, let's see where they're at there. basically moving into the vicinity of halfway through Dog Girl before they observed our platoon, and by the time they observed us, they had already been attrited down to their entire company of tanks destroyed. So as you can tell, an attack by fire, specifically when combined with engagement area development, can be extremely devastating and extremely effective. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment below. Tell me what you thought about it, and specifically if there are any concepts you'd like me to elaborate in more detail, or if there are any concepts that you think I missed that you want to bring up. Otherwise, have a great day.